Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Chinta Academy, I warmly welcome to all today's leadership project presentation. Today's presentation represents not just a project outcome, but a vision for the future of learning where curiosity, creativity, leadership, and technology come together with purpose. We are proud to present Filibot, a leadership initiative titled Bridging Learning, Play, and Technology. In a rapidly changing world, education must go beyond textbooks and examination. It must nurture problem solvers, designers, collaborators, and leaders. Filibot is an initiative that blends hands on learning, game based education, and thoughtful use of technology. So it is now my privilege to introduce the team behind Filibot. So first we have Divij. He is in grade 12 right now and he is from Delhi. And we have Ayan. He is in grade 11 right now and he is from Calcutta. So it's over to you guys.
Good evening, everyone. Today, we're really excited to present our final project called Filibot, which focuses on bridging learning, play, and technology. This project is developed under Chinta Academy and the Felix School of Education, and it represents our attempt to reimagine how students engage with science and mathematics, not just by memorizing concepts, but by experiencing them. So, moving to the next slide. This project is a collaborative effort. I'm Ayan Imam from grade 11 based in Kolkata. Along with me is Divij in grade 12 from Delhi. And we were guided by our supervisor Sahili Mazumdar ma'am and mentored by Ritik Pasak sir. Each member contributed across design ideas, execution, and reflection, making Filibot a truly team driven initiative. Moving to the next slide. So, you may ask, what is Filibot? So, Filibot is an education initiative that combines learning, play, and technology to create engaging, skill based experiences for students. It's not just an activity or one game, it's a whole platform. Through Filibot, we design hands on science activities, interactive educational games, and a central website that brings everything together. Moving to the next slide. Why Filibot? The motivation behind Filibot comes from a simple question: why does learning often feel disconnected from real life? At its core, Filibot aims to make education fun, relevant, and meaningful. We wanted students to think critically, collaborate, explore concepts, and most importantly, enjoy the learning process. It also allowed us to connect directly with the Felix School community, where learning became a two-way process. Moving to the next slide. So the three core pillars: activities, game, and the website. Activities focus on the hands on science and math explorations. Games transform academic concepts into interactive challenges. And the website acts as a digital hub, bringing grading tools, analytics, and resources together. Together, these pillars form a complete, playful learning ecosystem. Moving to the next slide. So, who is Filibot for? Filibot was designed with students at the center of the program. It's for curious learners who enjoy exploring science and math actively. It's also for educators who want skill driven, engaging classroom tools, and for parents who want meaningful learning at home. At the same time, Filibot helped us, the creators, grow in creativity, leadership, and problem solving. Going to the next slide. So, what we gained from this? Every activity we conducted was beyond just fun. By working with mirrors, building tools ourselves, we experienced how learning works in real life. This process helped us build confidence, curiosity, and creativity. Filibot wasn't just something we made, it was something that shaped how we think and how we learn. Moving to the next slide. So here are some sample activities. The shadow tracker, which is based on science, builds observation and critical thinking. The fraction puzzle race, which is of mathematics background, promotes logical reasoning. The DIY water filter science promotes environmental awareness. And the tangram puzzle develops spacious intelligence. And we had many more activities. Each activity is aligned with academic learning goals while remaining engaging and hands on. Now, moving to the next slide, game creation. This is the second pillar of our initiative. At Filibot, games are not just entertainment, they are learning tools. Our games are designed using research backed mechanics to make science playful, reinforce math and logic, and spark curiosity. By combining storytelling, challenges, and real world concepts, students actively learn while also enjoying. Now, going to the next slide, the game design process. So, during the game design process, we observe that each Filibot game follows a structured design process. We start by defining our learning goals, then ideate the mechanics. Next, we prototype and play test, gather feedback, revise the game, and finally launch it for the students. This iterative process ensures both educational value and engagement. Going to the next slide. So, what was our focus during the game design? Throughout the game design process, we focused on three key principles: engagement, accessibility, and educational value. Moreover, we practiced some key important skills like planning, analytical evaluation, peer collaboration, and iterative improvement. Now, going to the next slide. The game features. Our games are built with purpose and play in mind. They use real world data such as planets, gravity, and statistics. They include surprise elements like action cards and bonus missions, and they are designed for quick classroom or home use. They also support both solo and group play, making them flexible and adaptable for all. Now, going to the next slide. Learning outcomes from game features. These game features translate directly into strong learning outcomes. Students develop scientific understanding, numeracy, decision making, and pattern recognition. They also engage creatively with academic content, which helps them develop some really important concepts. Now, I will be passing on the proceedings to Divij.
Right. Thank you, Ayan. And I mean, good evening to everyone. It was absolutely a wonderful experience working as part of the Filibot project. And I mean, as part of the four of us, the team, and even the people who we worked alongside by from the Felix School of Education, it was a really informative experience for all of us. And I'll be sharing you our journey as well as the other pillars that we talked about initially. And absolutely, before I start, thank you to our mentors, Miss Saheli and Mr. Ritik, who have helped us really to grow this into a very informative and educational experience for us, and then as well as for the students that we've impacted. Yes. So while designing our first game, which was Space Trivia, Ayan has given you a brief introduction of what these games contain, like action cards, bonus missions, and everything. But there was something really behind that. And that was, how can we make this really educational for all the students that play it? And so we analyzed this through the form of the skill and competency trackers that we have had, to kind of see how we can inculcate that skills, inculcate those competencies into these students. Some of these were, let's say, positive learning habits, numeracy, cognitive development, and the skills were creativity, communication, and collaboration. So seeing all of this, we developed our first game, which was Space Trivia. Space Trivia was the first game, and it was a very fast paced and strategy driven. So it wasn't just based on luck, even though it was a card game, and it was more than what students usually play. It also inculcated a knowledge about astronomy, about your own solar system, and about things beyond that into the world of science fiction. The next slide, please. So in this game, I'll tell you how exactly we created the process of this game. Firstly, we created these cards as celestial bodies, which contained your planets, moons, stars, and exoplanets. Interesting to note, we didn't limit to just the solar system itself. We wanted to go beyond that. We wanted to go what other planets there are in our galaxy, and other galaxies as well, that students might not know about. Then we also put the stats like mass, diameter, gravity, and distance from the Earth as values on the card itself. So they can compare that how exactly and how much larger or heavier is the Jupiter than Earth, and seeing that they had built skills of numeracy within them. Third, we had action cards like black holes, wormholes, and time travel. Some of these are real existing concepts, while some of these are science fiction. Now, this was to disrupt and boost gameplay, but also to show how actual, real, physical life phenomena can affect objects and affect celestial bodies. Fourth was unlocking bonus cards, which featured legendary scientists and astronomical wonders, which students might learn about in their class, but it gave a very different perspective and it went beyond the usual Einstein and Newton to even Galileo and Kepler. Then, fifth, we had completing surprise missions. Now, what is this designed to do? Moving to the next slide, please. It's designed to teach space science through play. I've talked about how exactly and what kind of space sciences we are aiming to build here. On the right hand side, you can see of how we have created a legendary object, the sun spin, and we have added the abilities and the lore. And the lore actually talks about what is the scientific meaning behind the card itself. Secondly, we have developed skills like critical thinking. You need to really strategize in order to play the game. Which action cards do you use? How exactly do you want your celestial objects to be? Do you want to go with, let's say, Earth for this time and then choose a card later which has a higher distance from the Earth? That is building critical thinking. Numeracy and strategy is also built as well. And third, this is very classroom friendly and fun for all ages, which means that whether you are a 5 year old or whether you are a 15-year old, you can really play this game. And even in the classes, this is a very fun experience to actually play this game, along with your teachers, and can actually teach you astronomy based concepts. Next slide, please. Now we move on to the next pillar, which is the website development. Now we have developed the Felix School website, and it actually had inculcated in it particular areas like reports and grading for the particular schools that are affiliated with Filibot. We have enhanced our coding skills with multiple languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So HTML, CSS majorly for the front end development of these reports. We had to create many designs. Some designs were aesthetically pleasing, some designs were user friendly, and then we had to collaborate that with JavaScript in order to create the backend of the pages so that actually some AI analytics could work. Yes, exactly. That is the point of how we're not just getting, let's say, the grades for the competency and skills, but then using that grades to actually build an AI analytics tool so that it can really help the students when they want to see which activity they have to do next. Next slide, please. Now, what are these features of this UI design? So the first thing that we did was design a PDF format of what the report card should look like. Now, this PDF format, it contained the competency skill pairs that I talked about, the overall percentage that a teacher has given, and the remarks by the teacher if there are any specific. And now this was then used to create a professional AI analytics UI themed report card. Now, upon making this copy, we also saw that we attempted to reconstruct the same in the UI as well. And there we saw the use of relative and absolute markings. Absolute markings were the markings which were given by the teachers just to the students, but then the relative markings were according to how exactly the other competencies were graded to other students and into a scale that is different and same absolute for everyone. And now this was used for AI analytics so that we can sort out what are the recommended competencies and skills that the student needs to work on. And it is different for all of the students. Next slide, please. Now, what are the problems that we at Filibot aim to address? We wanted to make sure that it is a very fun and learning, informative and educational experience, but also it balances fun along with it. That is why our games are both enjoyable and educational. And it was definitely tricky as to how do you exactly make sure that the fun part of it and the educational part of it was equal. Second was adapting it for different ages. Specifically, this was for space trivia, where we didn't know if the students who are just beginning to study science or are studying environmental science in their schools would know these astronomy based concepts. And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't something entirely different that you would really need your class 9 or class 10 physics knowledge for. You can even know it even though you are, let's say, in class 5. Then the time limitations. Also, we had, of course, our schoolwork alongside the project deadlines, which stretched our time. Then we had a few technical challenges where we needed to build a functional website with AI analytics that tested our coding skills. We had to, firstly, this was the first time working on languages like HTML and JavaScript, and also incorporating it with other languages as well. Then we had a lack of user feedback, where to actually test the projects, to actually test the space trivia game, we had limited opportunities for that. But yes, definitely we resolved that problem while testing it within ourselves, within our group, so that we can get feedback on that itself. Next slide, please. Now, how exactly did we plan this solution? The solution, firstly, we started with a modular game design where we created a flexible game format that can be used across all age levels. This was within the design itself, but within the process of how you play the game itself, that it was really easy but also informative at the same time. Next, we had clear learning goals where we defined objectives to help us align fun and academic purpose. We also were really smart in terms of our teamwork, where we assigned roles based on each member's strength. So, for example, I was working on the coding part because I have had a little bit of coding experience, and then Ayan was doing the bit of the writing and designing as well. Then we went on to how we build the website step by step, where we started with basics, started with a few projects that were really initially planned and foundational, but then we added features like grading and analytics that were more complicated. And lastly, we tested and took feedback and actually created piloted games and activities at the Felix School to gather insights. An interesting thing to note about the game that I shared with you, Space Trivia, that was not just the only game that we created. We also worked on games like Eco Conquest and the Math Football Arena, which were also educational on their own. But yes, we didn't talk about that, but those were also some of the games that we tested, that we piloted, and these were some of the piloted games and activities that we have at Filibot. Next slide, please. And now, as always, there is the fourth pillar, which is the data analysis. Now, the fourth pillar is the data analysis, and it talked about how we convert raw interactions into actually actionable insights. This was one of the things that we used in our analytics, where we had data, first raw data from Google and other sources, and then data, actual primary data that we gathered at Filibot. We examined the accuracy, the attempts, the completion time, the activity difficulties, the teacher inputs, and even the grades of students, and how exactly we could identify patterns there. On the formula that you see on the top right corner of the presentation is the formula for the coefficient relation of coefficient, and here we used pivot tables, scatter plots, and correlation measures. And this was actually to outline how exactly you could predict the grades and other outcomes of the students. Next slide, please. So here on the left hand side, you could see some kind of some analysis that we had performed on the grades of the students. I'll briefly share what are the results of this analysis. So here we have three grades taken: the initial test, grade 1, G1, this midterm test, which is G2, and the final test, which is G3. Now, all these three grades were then plotted out in a different plots here. In the first plot, you see it is grade 1 versus grade 2 grades. Then in the second plot, you have G2 versus G3. And in the third plot, you have G1 versus G3. Now, what were the results of this? First, we saw that there was a stronger performance in the midterm associated with a stronger performance in the final. So G2 association with G3, indicating that the midterm results are a strong indicator and predictor of what the final outcomes will be. Then the three sets of grades are all positively correlated and mutually dependent, which reflects the consistency in student performance. Which means that if you know one of the grades, you can actually predict the second and the third grade with a lot of accuracy. Then third was as depicted in the graph, the correlation coefficients indicate that grades from the most recent examinations are strong predictors, which means if you know G1, you can definitely predict G2 with a lot of accuracy, and if you know G2, you can predict G3 with a lot of accuracy. But the same cannot be said for predicting G1 and G3's accuracy, as you can see in the graph itself. We also use this by calculating the correlation coefficients, which were indicative of this result as well. Next slide, please. And now this is the impact of Filibot that we have had in all of the months that we've really worked so hard for. And we are definitely proud here at Chinta and Filibot for all of these impacts. We've associated with over 200 plus centers and schools. We've affected over 38,000 students. We have assisted over 2,600 teachers, and the states that we've impacted include Ladakh, Meghalaya, West Bengal, among other states. And this is really something amazing of how we could, in the limited time that we have had, build so much of an impact. And it is just continuing to grow each day. Next slide, please. So now what's next for Filibot? Now we've had the pleasure of creating a lot of activities and games. We are also have created and did our own analysis and inferred what exactly we do through that analysis. So we just aim to continue doing that further. But then again, we just aim to continue how exactly the website will be more user friendly, how more activities we can create, how more games can be reached to more number of students across Meghalaya, across Ladakh, and that is what is next for Filibot. That is creating our outreach even more in number. Next slide, please. So this is our conclusion that through Filibot, we've taken the first few steps of not just enhancing the student experiences, but we are making them into passionate and curious learners. We're also blending activities, games, and digital tools where we've created this beautiful ecosystem that brings learning to life. And this is just the beginning. And even for us, we have not just grown as people who can write code or write papers, but also as leaders of our own. And definitely, this will help us future in our lives to go.
Absolutely correct,
Thank
Divij. And thank you so much, Divij, Ayan, both of you. Like it is like my experience is also really good to work with you for the last 6 months. And I still could not like believe that we have done this kind of a beautiful project together. So obviously, I'm just giving a quick review of this thing. So like how the through Filibot we saw that like how learning can be transformed through play. Also, we saw that how data analytics can support student growth, and also we have seen that and how students themselves can become creators of educational change. To conclude, I would like to congratulate the Filibot team, absolutely Divij and Ayan. You deserve this. I wish all the very best for your future, and I hope that this experience like will mean to you a lot and it helps in your career growth as well. Thank you so much, everyone. So if you have any question or any query about this project, so you can put it in the comment sections. We will be really happy to respond that. Thank you so much.